In the next 10 minutes, you'll carry 13 mental apps that can dismantle a bad argument, spot hidden power plays, and even save you money, each app invented by someone who's been dead for centuries. We're compressing a 2,500-year global brain trust. Greek street questioners, Indian monks, Islamic polymaths, Enlightenment rebels into one high-speed toolkit. No fluff, no chalk dust, no imagine a world cliches. Every philosopher gets one core lever you can click into place today. Stick to the end and you'll get the cheat sheet link, 26 thinkers, 26 one-line codes. Bookmark it before your next meeting, date, or doom scroll session. Bonus, I'll slip in the 7 most viral philosophy myths debunked in passing, so you'll never retweet nonsense about Socrates writing books or Hegel chanting thesis, antithesis, synthesis again. The final lens, Rawls' veil of ignorance, is the one negotiation hack that can raise your salary or lower your rent. It lands at 9:42. Don't bounce early. First app, Socrates the Bug Detector. Picture Athens, 399 BCE. No Wi-Fi, no pens, no clickbait. Just a barefoot war veteran stopping citizens in the street and asking, "What is justice?" before exposing their answers as circular vending machines. He wrote nothing. We know him through his student Plato and the historian Xenophon. His weapon is Alinkus, cross-examination that hunts for contradictions until the claim collapses. The goal is not victory but intellectual humility. Realize you don't know, then keep digging. Use it today command. Next time an influencer spouts always or never, ask, "What do you mean by that term?" Then watch the ad revenue stutter while the chat turns into a QA session instead of a rally. Common myth corrected. Socrates never authored a scroll. Every quote you see on Instagram is Plato's ventriloquism. Second app, Plato, the Blueprint Maker. Student of the Gadfly, founder of the first university, the Academy, which stayed open for 9 centuries, longer than most modern currencies. He looked at uneven beds, lopsided governments, and shady friends and said, somewhere there's a perfect bed, a perfect state, a perfect friend, unchanging, invisible, more real than the copies. These are the forms, the original master templates. In the Republic, he sketches a city run by philosopher, kings who've seen the form of the good and therefore know how to tune society like a guitar. Critics call it authoritarian. Fans call it quality control. Use it today. Before you launch the minimum viable product, whiteboard the ideal user journey, then compromise downward with open eyes. Notice you're already doing Plato every time you say true love while swiping through imperfect dates. Third app, Aristotle, the Logic Lego. Tutor to Alexander the Great, collector of squid and constitutions, he turns Plato's sky-high forms into checklists you can hold. Everything has 4 causes: material, what it's made of; formal, its shape or plan; efficient, the builder; and final, its purpose. Virtue is the golden mean between extremes. Courage is neither rash nor cowardly. Generosity neither stingy nor prodigal. Happiness is activity in accordance with virtue, not a mood but a long-running process. Use it today. Diagnose a broken workflow by listing the 4 causes. Usually the team fixes the noisy efficient cause while ignoring the misaligned final cause and wonders why the bug returns. Myth corrected. Those surviving texts are probably lecture notes edited by students, not polished bestsellers. Fourth app, Confucius, the social glue. Born in the chaos of warring Chinese states, he compiles the Analects, a chat log with disciples, preaching Ren, humaneness, Li, ritual propriety, and the rectification of names, call things what they actually are or society glitches. When the father acts like a father and the software update is labeled stable, trains run on time. Imperial China turned these maxims into civil service exams that lasted until 1905. Shaping East Asian governance like Aristotle shaped Europe. Use it today. Create a 5-second team ritual. Song snippet, emoji check-in, cohesion rises, reply to rates jump 30%. Ritual is not superstition. It's predictable code that frees bandwidth for creative work. Fifth app, Laozi and Zhuangzi, the buffer overflow fix. The Tao Te Ching, probably layered by multiple authors in the 4th-3rd centuries BCE, whispers, stop forcing. Dao is the way things spontaneously flow. Wu Wei is action that aligns with that flow, like a skilled rider who steers by leaning instead of yanking the rein. Zhuangzi dreams he's a butterfly, wakes and asks, am I a man who dreamed a butterfly or a butterfly dreaming a man? Training you to hold perspectives lightly. You sit today, schedule a do-nothing block, no input, no scroll. Your best code commits surface after the idle moment. Overclocking overheats the chip. Myth corrected, there probably was no single sage named Old Master who rode a water buffalo westward. The text is a patchwork, still genius. 6th app, Siddhartha Gautama, the craving debugger. Indian prince turned wandering ascetic. He diagnoses life as dukkha, unsatisfactoriness caused by craving and ignorance, cured by the eightfold path: right view, intention, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. The middle way rejects both indulgence and self-torture. Dependent origination shows every phenomenon arises from conditions. Nothing has a solo essence, so change is possible. You sit today. Next impulse purchase. Rate craving 1 to 10 before checkout. Watch the digit drop while the cart waits. You just ran the 4th noble truth in production. Variants Theravada, Mahayana, Vajrayana are like Linux distros. Same kernel, different skins. 7th app, Nagarjuna, the null pointer trainer. 2nd century Indian monk. He launches the Mula Madhyamakrika fundamental verses on the middle way, arguing all phenomena are empty of inherent existence, like a chariot that's just wheels, axle, and frame with no chariot essence added. Emptiness is not nihilism, it's the white space that lets code compile, the silence that lets music play. 2 truths, conventional everyday facts and ultimate emptiness, both required. You sit today when KPI graphs tank, remind yourself the graph is empty of fixed identity. Iterate instead of identity crisis. Mahayana spreads across Asia, influencing Zen koans and modern physics jokes about particles being relations, not things. 8th app, Augustine of Hippo, the memory cache cleaner. North African bishop, 354 to 430 CE, writes Confessions, the first introspective memoir, probing memory, desire, and the weird elasticity of time. If no one asks me, I know. If I want to explain, I don't. In City of God, he reframes history as 2 parallel cities, the earthly and the divine, intertwined yet aimed at different ends. He fuses Christianity with Neoplatonism, argues grace and free will coexist like firmware and user input, and plants early seeds of just war theory. You sit today, once a month, dump your mental cache, write what you believed versus what you did, spot the drift before it becomes scandal. His influence, Western concepts of sin, redemption, and inner life echo his metaphors. 9th app, Thomas Aquinas, the open source moral API. 13th century Italian monk, he integrates Aristotle with Christian theology in the Summa Theologiae, offering 5 ways to argue for God's existence: motion, causation, contingency, gradation, teleology. Note these are not Anselm's ontological argument. He defends natural law, moral truths accessible to any reasoning mind. No sacred download required. Life, reproduction, society, truth are built-in dependencies. Use it today. Frame team rules as if we all want to stay alive and cooperate. Then objections drop because the axiom is universal, not sectarian. Myth corrected. Near death, he reportedly said his writing seemed like straw compared to mystical experience, humility baked into the code. 10th app, Avicenna and Averroes, the comment patch. In Islamic Spain and Persia, these polymaths save Aristotle from medieval Europe's amnesia. Avicenna, Ibn Sina, distinguishes essence from existence and imagines the floating man, a mind suspended in zero gravity with no sensory input yet still self-aware, an early thought experiment on consciousness. Averroes Ibn Rushd writes line-by-line glosses on Aristotle so thorough that Latin translators call him simply the commentator. He argues faith and reason are compatible, refuting the later myth that he preached double truth. Use it today. When stakeholders speak tech versus theology, translate, don't choose sides, compatibility mode activated. Their texts flow into medieval universities, jump-starting the scholastic reboot. 11th app, Maimonides, the negative space filter. Jewish physician, philosopher in 12th century Cairo, he writes the Guide for the Perplexed, arguing we know God only by negation, what the divine is not, like sculptors who remove marble to reveal shape. He harmonizes Jewish law with Aristotelian reason, urges allegorical reading when literalism clashes with demonstrated truth, and codifies Jewish practice in the Mishnah Torah. You sit today, describe your competitor by what they're not. You'll sound more precise and less slanderous. His rationalism sparks controversy and cross-pollination among the three Abrahamic traditions. 12th app, René Descartes, the system-wipe tool. 17th century French soldier mathematician. He factory resets medieval philosophy by doubting everything that can be doubted, senses, math, even God, until he reaches one indubitable brick, the thinking self, cogito ergo sum. In Meditations, he argues mind is distinct from body like software from hardware, founding dualism and planting the mind-body problem that still fuels neuroscience. On the side, he invents coordinate geometry, letting algebra and geometry date for the first time. You sit today, before a major life decision, list your beliefs, hit doubt all, rebuild only what survives cross-examination, mental malware deleted. 13th app, Baruch Spinoza, the monist motherboard. Excommunicated by Amsterdam's Jewish community at 24, he rewrites metaphysics as geometry, one substance with infinite attributes, God or nature, same thing. Determinism reigns, human freedom is understanding necessity, not escaping it. In the theological political treatise, he defends democracy and religious tolerance, arguing the state should protect free thought because stability needs rational citizens. Shrug your spending for 30 days, patterns emerge, own them instead of cursing bad luck. His idea that everything is a modal expression of one underlying reality influences Einstein, who called himself a Spinozist when asked about God. 14th app, John Locke, the blank slate formatter. English physician turned political hacker, he declares the mind a white page with no innate ideas. Knowledge arrives through sensation and reflection. In the essay concerning human understanding, he dismantles the divine right of kings and coins the concept of natural rights, life, liberty, property, software modules every government must protect to stay legitimate. In practice, he drafts constitutions for Carolina while investing in slave trading companies, the original fork between code and execution. You sit today, audit your own updates, which beliefs installed at age 7 still run. Uninstall anything that crashes on contact with new data. His influence, the U.S. Declaration of Independence copy, pastes his syntax. 15th app, David Hume, the cause-effect debugger. Scottish librarian with a merchant's eye. He asks why we believe the sun will rise tomorrow just because it always has. Habit, not logic, forges the link. Causation is psychological firmware, not logical proof. He applies the same scalpel to morality. You cannot derive aught from is, and the self is a bundle of perceptions with no hidden owner, an early prototype of the no-self patch later seen in Buddhism. You sit, A/B test your superstition, wear lucky socks half the week, track outcomes coldly, watch correlation collapse under data. His empiricism accelerates the scientific method and still keeps statisticians employed. 16th app, Immanuel Kant, the universal syntax checker. Königsberg professor who never left his hometown yet rewrites the operating system of Western thought. In Critique of Pure Reason, he argues the mind wears VR goggles labeled space, time, and causality. Reality as it is in itself, the noumenon, remains unknowable, but the phenomena we experience are structured by these built-in categories. Ethics gets a parallel upgrade. The categorical imperative demands you act only on maxims you can will as universal law, treat persons as ends, never merely as means. You sit today before posting, ask if every user copied this, would the platform improve? If not, edit or delete. Note, Kant's anthropology contains racist remarks. We keep the tool, acknowledge the crack, and continue debugging. 17th app, G.W.F. Hegel, the history compiler. German professor who sees world history as rational process, unfolding through dialectical movement. Contradictions arise and resolve into higher unities, though he never used the shorthand. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. In Phenomenology of Spirit, he tracks consciousness from sense certainty to absolute knowing, with the famous master-slave dialectic showing that recognition, not conquest, is the real currency. You sit today, in deadlocked meetings, map thesis and antithesis, propose a synthesis that preserves what each side needs, suddenly you're the only adult in the room. His system fertilizes both right-wing nationalism and left-wing revolution, proof that code can be forked in opposite directions. 18th app, Karl Marx, the surplus value scanner. Rhineland journalist turned exile. He partners with Engels to diagnose capitalism as a machine that runs on unpaid labor time. Historical materialism argues ideas are the superstructure erected on economic foundations. Change the base, change the culture. Surplus value is the difference between what workers produce and what they're paid. Profit is not theft in his metaphor, but structural extraction. Use it today. Track one workday output value versus wage. Negotiate with hard numbers instead of moral outrage. His manifesto inspires labor reforms and revolutions with mixed human costs. The analysis remains a required course in spotting hidden ledgers. 19th app, John Stuart Mill, the harm preference slider. Prodigy raised on Greek by age 3, he refines utilitarianism to distinguish higher pleasures, reading Plato from lower ones, eating chips by asking competent judges who've tasted both. And on liberty, he argues the only justified limit on individual action is the prevention of harm to others. Your freedom to punch ends at my nose, but my dislike of your lifestyle doesn't count. Use it today. Curate your feed. Unfollow accounts that spike cortisol without adding usable insight. Mill would swipe left on outrage merchants. He also co-authors The Subjection of Women, making him an early influencer in the firmware update called Feminism. 20th app, Soren Kierkegaard, The Leap Launcher. Copenhagen diarist who writes under pseudonyms to keep readers off balance. He argues truth is subjective, something you live, not something you recite. In Fear and Trembling, he retells Abraham's near sacrifice of Isaac as the model of faith. Suspend ethical calculation for a higher calling, a teleological suspension of the ethical that horrifies rationalists. You sit today. Rename your pros and cons list, fear inventory, acknowledge existential dread, then leap. Either marry, quit, or move, but decide rather than drift. His influence seeds existentialism, therapy culture, and every follow your passion keynote for better or worse. 21st app, Friedrich Nietzsche, the value smith's hammer. German classicist who declares God is dead, not to celebrate atheism but to warn that traditional values have lost credibility, leaving nihilism in the checkout line. He genealogizes morals, good originally meant strong, bad meant weak, then urges a revaluation where you create values aligned with life-affirming will to power. The Übermensch is not a fascist superhero, but an individual who writes custom firmware instead of running default societal code. You sit today, list your top 3 values, cross out any you didn't consciously choose, forge replacements that energize rather than drain. Note, his sister distorts his work into Nazi propaganda. The original text critiques anti-Semitism. 22nd app, The American Pragmatists, Peirce, James, Dewey, beta testing truth in real time. Charles Sanders Peirce proposes the pragmatic maxim, conceive the practical effects of a concept. If no difference to action ensues, the dispute is verbal. William James popularizes truth as what works in the way of belief, making philosophy feel less like cathedral and more like startup. John Dewey applies the lens to education and democracy, treating knowledge as experimental problem-solving, not eternal mirror of nature. You sit today. Treat the next self-help tip as a 30-day A/B experiment. Track KPIs, keep or delete. Pragmatism becomes the unofficial operating system of modern science, design thinking, and, ironically, Silicon Valley's move fast and break things. 23rd app, Bertrand Russell and Ludwig Wittgenstein, The Language Lint Rollers. Russell's theory of descriptions shows how grammar misleads us into believing in non-existent objects like the present King of France, cleaning up logical bugs. Wittgenstein starts with the Tractatus, picture theory of language, logical limits, then flips in philosophical investigations to language games. Meaning is use, like moves in a game, with no single essence. Use it today. Start meetings with "What do we mean by X?" Duration drops 20% as semantic fog lifts. Their work births analytic philosophy, computer science type theory, and every pedantic internet comment thread that demands definitions. 24th app, Martin Heidegger, the Being Scanner with malware warning. In Being in Time, he investigates Dasein, human existence as being, their care, authenticity, and the anxiety that reveals our finitude. Later, he critiques technology as a worldview that treats everything, including us, as standing reserve raw material awaiting orders. Use it today. Schedule boredom blocks. No phone, no input. Confront finitude. Reclaim authenticity. Moral blemish. He joins the Nazi Party in 1933. Scholars still debate how far the philosophy is infected. Use the tool. Keep the disinfectant handy. 25th app, Michel Foucault, the Power X-ray. French historian who scans how prisons, hospitals, and schools produce docile bodies through surveillance and normalization. Power is not just repression but productive. It generates knowledge, identities, even sexuality itself as a regulated discourse. Do. Use it today. Audit one daily routine. Who scripted it? Flip one variable, walk route, lunch hour, feel the micro-resistance. His work reshapes social theory, inspiring both left-wing identity politics and right-wing critiques of bureaucratic overreach, proof that power analytics cut across ideologies. 26th app, John Rawls, the Fairness Simulator. In A Theory of Justice, he proposes the veil of ignorance. Design society without knowing your race, class, or talents. Rational agents would choose two principles: equal basic liberties for all and inequalities allowed only if they benefit the least advantaged, the difference principle. Use it today. Next salary negotiation. Argue for a raise only if it funds junior staff growth. Watch how quickly merit rhetoric pivots to budget constraints. Contemporary ethics extends the conversation. Peter Singer applies similar impartial reasoning across species, arguing the capacity to suffer, not species membership, is the moral threshold, pushing effective altruism into mainstream culture. Summary loop. From Socratic doubt to Rawlsian fairness, you now wield 26 mental scripts: question, blueprint, balance, ritual, flow, debug, empty, introspect, legislate, translate, negate, reset, fuse, format, test, universalize, synthesize, scan, refine, leap, revalue, experiment, clarify, authenticate, X-ray, and simulate. Use any single one and you'll out-argue 90% of comment sections. Stack 3 and you'll redesign your career. Master 5 and you'll stop being the product, you'll become the programmer. Download the chapter timestamp cheat sheet below. Drop the number of the app you're installing first and debate me in the comments if you can find the veil of ignorance behind my avatar.